Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. We're going to give folks a couple minutes to hop on. But if you're here, please tell us where you're from, who you are, services or products you provide in the chat. And just to go over a little bit of housekeeping, we will have our presentation today with AmeriHealth Caritas. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A. We will be monitoring that. If for any reason you have questions and you place them in the chat, I will try my best to make sure I capture those. But for our preference, if you could use the Q&A chat box for your questions, we will use that. Today's session will be recorded, so once this is completed, we will upload this to our video library. And if you haven't done so already, just let us know who's here and your company and products or services you provide. You don't know, somebody in the chat or somebody in this room may need your products or services, so it's a good way to see who's in the room. All right, I see a couple more folks just trickling in. But we'll get started in a minute. A lot of folks in the chat. Thank you for sharing. I'm not sure, Jonathan, if you're able to see the chat as well, but if you cannot, just let me know.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. All right, folks, we're about 2 minutes in. We are going to be respectful of everybody's time. It looks like for the most part, the majority is in the room. So today's session is Up Next with AmeriHealth Caritas, and this is a kind of how to do business with our corporation series that we produce. Today we have Jonathan, who is the supplier diversity manager for the company. And I'm going to have Jonathan just take it away with his presentation because I'm sure our folks are going to have some questions for you very soon.
Hey everyone. I just want to say warm welcome to everyone who's participating today, and thank you so much for lending me your time to get this webinar done. So, and I do appreciate the EMSDC for lending me their platform. And without further ado, let's get started. So, my name is Jonathan Sterling. I am the Supply Diversity Manager for AmeriHealth Caritas. I've been here for a year and 9 months, and in that time, it's been a great experience working with diverse suppliers and trying to build out the programs that help them grow and get their footing and get established. But I just want to kind of break into who AmeriHealth Caritas is in our team. So I'm the Supply Diversity Manager, and above me is my director, Ronald Baldwin, who's been in this space for around 25 years. He's been doing the work, and I'm sure some of you have encountered him before. And I'm currently, learning from him and trying to kind of assimilate and understand the role as best as possible. But in doing that, it's been a great journey of really understanding what business owners go through and building our programming to kind of support and help them. But here's a little background about AmeriHealth Caritas. AmeriHealth Caritas is our main focus is providing care to the underserved communities and to the chronically ill. We've been doing this since 1983, and we are a national level company. So that does mean that we get state level contracts through the states to do business in particular states. Currently, we have 13 particular states that we do business in, and we've been doing this for around 35 years, and particularly focused on providing by behavioral health care, long-term support services. So that's kind of like one of our biggest providers is behavioral health. Medicare Advantage, and pharmacy benefits like Perform RX. So these are all kind of offerings that we have for AmeriHealth Caritas, but we're not solely just focused on the external or the internal. We're focused on the external communities that we serve in. So that means the economic prowess, which would obviously mean supply diversity. So supply diversity is making sure that all ethnic groups are allowed to participate in the procurement process and making sure that we're supporting those groups and those businesses that enter into new spaces of procurement with institutions that they may not have gotten access to before. So creating the runways and creating the on-ramps to getting that contracting access. Because as we know, access to contracts, economic growth, it just kind of flows back into the communities in which those business owners reside. And they're more likely to hire employees that look like them that reside in their particular communities. So what we're looking for, so realistically, we are looking for suppliers that are really qualified and have shown kind of like, use case, have been in the game for a while and can understand and how to navigate a national level company. We're looking for suppliers that are grounded, established, and kind of ready to do business. We want to make sure that there's no conflict of interest, no legal or regulatory actions pending against the supplier. But for the most part, that probably doesn't apply to most of you here on this call. But here are some other attributes and characteristics that we'd like. One thing that we want to focus on is cost, just because of the current state of the nation with Medicaid. We are kind of going through a lot of changes. There's a lot of uncertainty within the landscape. So if we are going to onboard suppliers, we want to make sure that they align best with our costs and make sure that it's a competitive price. We want to make sure that our suppliers are qualified and have that level of quality that we want. And that can then be benchmarked against other majority suppliers that we do business with. And you can obviously ask me and I can kind of look up those suppliers so that we can kind of benchmark against what you don't have, what you do have, how you best measure up. We want suppliers to be responsive because, if we're on an RFP and we need certain things for suppliers and they're not responsive, there is grounds to remove suppliers from RFPs. So we want to make sure that our suppliers are responsive, that they're communicating with us, any setbacks, any pitfalls, things of that nature, and that the delivery is impeccable. We also want to make sure that our suppliers are innovating with technology, the current best technology that's available for your specific industry. Typically that lends itself to AI, automation, just ease of access. So we want to make sure that you're focused on those aspects of your technological prowess. And then we want to make sure that you're aligned with our business objectives. And what that can look like is your your business has its own supplier diversity program, or you are engaged with the community and you do participate in events that better the social determinants of health in which the communities you reside in. So we want to see that our suppliers are engaged and care just as much as we do about the mission and about the vision of providing the best care to the communities that we serve in. So here, this is kind of a loose spend categories right here. There are many more, but what you're seeing here is kind of the ones that we source the most for. You'll see advertising, public communications, consulting is a big one, especially IT consulting. Print and fulfillment is a large category that we do have a lot of suppliers in, so it's somewhat saturated, but we do sort of onboard a little bit heavier for that. Staffing is another one that it's handled by an MSP, so it's not directly sourced for through our sourcing team. But we do have an MSP, Right Sourcing, that handles all staffing agencies that come into contact with AmeriHealth Caritas. And wellness and clinical. So we do have a provider network as well. So if you are a provider of medical services like, non-emergency medical transport, biobehavioral health, or home health care, those are suppliers that we typically will onboard and we are looking for. So that's not listed here, but those are some of the categories that I have seen suppliers do well in within our verticals. If you would like, you can go onto our website and fill out our minority supplier registration request form. This is going to house a lot of information about your business and as well give you the chance to send us over a capability statement, which I hope all of you are able to do with this call. Because some of the projects that we're working on, and I'll touch on some of our programs when I talk about this project, We're working on a diverse catalog, which is going to be housed internally, but hopefully at some point externally that will be available to other platforms. But first, it's going to be internal. We're working on a diverse supply catalog to list out the diverse suppliers that we have in different states, and give their best offering through their capability statement in a curated and categorized format. So gathering capability statements is going to vastly help us out with getting this done. So we want as many as possible. So if at the end of the call you would be able to provide us with that, that would be great. That's just one of the things that I'm working on right now. The second thing that I'm working on is the Supply Development Institute. AmeriHealth Caritas prides itself on making sure that the suppliers that we engage with are ready to enter our procurement process, that they're as scaled and as efficient as possible. And with that, we decided to create our Supply Development Institute, which is an institute comprised of 4 different verticals. So cybersecurity, marketing and branding, expense reduction, and business coaching. So those are the 4 verticals. We're going to do a 4-week module with each of the verticals, starting with expense reduction, then on to business coaching, then on to marketing. And then finally, the final module for 4 weeks will be cybersecurity. And we're basically bolstering up our curriculum right now at the moment for our second iteration of this program. But this program is going to help business owners to vastly increase their knowledge in all 4 of those pillars and get hands-on direct knowledge from those subject matter experts. Um, this program has been great. I mean, I think it's in its second iteration now, and the first iteration was kind of more of a pilot phase, but we still garnered some great reception from it from the business owners, and we were able to actually realize uh thousands in terms of FICA tax savings through our expense reduction pillar. We were able to kind of pinpoint and analyze where people weren't hitting the mark in terms of their security parameters with our cybersecurity aspect of things. And there's been a lot of great feedback from the program, and we're still working to build it out to be as best as possible. So that's one of the programs that AmeriHealth Caritas offers as well. The next program that we offer is our Tuck School Business Scholarship, in which we send 2 business owners to Dartmouth College, Tuck School of Business. And it's a fully paid for travel and lodging as well. They're going to get hands-on direct scaling knowledge from experts at the Tuck School of Business. They're going to be paired with different business owners, and they're going to be in a cohort style, really to garner the best receipt of information from this program. I believe it's 2 days. And we just had a supplier last year go through the program, Illuminated Hearts, and they couldn't say enough about it, about the program, what they saw, the business owners that they encountered, and kind of seeing and being with people who are on that same, who are in the mud with you, and who are kind of along the same path as you, and being able to connect with them and get that insider knowledge and emerging traits and trends for the industry. So Tuck School Business is a great program. That's one of our other offerings. And finally, we have our Mentor Protege program. So our Mentor Protege program is where we pair up diverse suppliers with our C-suite leadership, so our executive leadership here at AmeriHealth Caritas. And what they're going to do is they're going to lend their expertise and their knowledge on specific things, specific business trends, industry trends, and as well as their network. And when you think about executives, you think about someone who's been at the organization, the respectful organization, for a long time. They've garnered a lot of power. They've managed teams. They might even have their own businesses, but executives have a lot of reach. They have a lot of knowledge, and they have a great network. So we thought, what better person to pair a diverse supplier with than an executive who might be able to kind of bridge a relationship within the organization at a higher place, who might be able to kind of make a connection happen for a diverse supplier that wouldn't normally happen without that access to that C-suite leadership. So those are our programs kind of in a nutshell, but obviously if you go on our website, you'll be able to see deeper and read deeper into what we do, and the participants of our past programs as well. So these are the different supplier certifications that we take. Obviously, you guys are all should be all NMSC certified, MBE certified businesses through the EMSDC, but these are a full list of the certifications that we take. So we also take the Women's Business Enterprise, so WBENC, the SDVBE, so any certified veterans. Veteran spend is a huge thing that's kind of emerged in a lot of contracts. Typically, contracts were just utilizing diverse suppliers, but now there's a distinct portion for veteran suppliers. So If any of you are a veteran supplier, I'd love to get in contact with you to understand what you do and to kind of just make sure that we have bench strength for that requirement moving forward in different states that we do business. And here's some of our contact information. You can actually just reach out to our general supplier diversity email with any questions, concerns, or anything else that you might need from us after this call. That's an email that goes to both me and my director, Ron. So at any point, if you need accessibility to our services or to me or Ron, just feel free to use that email. So that's the end of my presentation. So if there's any questions or concerns from the audience, I'd love to hear you guys and to answer whatever questions you have.
I do see a couple questions coming into the chat. Sean has asked, thanks for your time, Jonathan. Sean from Titan Text here. I was wondering when we apply through the supplier form for staffing, if it goes to staffing vendor management as well. Therefore, do we need to just fill out the form or is there additional steps for staffing?
For staffing, I would say for staffing agency, you can reach out to me directly through my email because we would have to bridge that gap after the minority supplier registration form. There would be an extra step and would be primarily an introduction in a conversation to have between you and our MSP. So I would absolutely facilitate that, and I will actually drop my email in the chat. So if there are any suppliers that want to directly reach me, they can.
Okay. Excuse me. um, Mackenzie asked, just to better understand your procurement structure, who would be the right contact for IT, hardware, print, promo, and janitorial?
So that would be John Wen. I don't have his email, and I can't really give that out just because it's, he's not involved with this call or this webinar, but that is a relationship that I could facilitate for you. I will say that right now for our IT processes, we are kind of downsizing. We were doing a lot of consulting work through Accenture, but we are actually having to downsize a bit just because of the current nature and structure of what's happening within the administration. Just because there's a lot of uncertainty if things get cut and we have too many suppliers and contractual agreements and having to pay those out, it can lead to a lot of issues down the line if we try to scale and grow a lot and onboard a lot. But I think that there are select portions of business where we could potentially insert suppliers and where we could facilitate relationships for the future.
All right, there's a lot of questions coming in. I do see questions coming into the chat. Right now, I'm really looking at the Q&A chat box. So I'll once that's completed, I'll go to the chat. But can the link on the screen be included in the chat so that we can access it all? So I believe it was the link you may have shown in the previous slide.
Okay. And that's the link to the minority supplier registration form?
Um, Simon, I'm gonna assume, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Let me just go and grab that for you.
Question, Sean.
And I figured.
Um, so, okay, can you please share the link for supplier that's been shared? Okay. The supplier vendor registration form has been shared in the chat. For anybody who has asked that question. Is there is there a separate procurement website for AmeriHealth Caritas to search for upcoming bids and opportunities?
So we don't publicize any of our contracts and RFPs. That would be kind of internal knowledge that you'd have to facilitate some type of relationship within our organization to understand. But Obviously, that's kind of why we're here on this call, to facilitate those relationships and so that you guys have easier access to our processes.
All right. So I hope everyone heard that because I'm seeing a couple people in the chat asking the same question. um, what are the standard payment terms at AmeriHealth Caritas for suppliers?
So for suppliers, moving forward, we are moving towards a net 45 day. But that wouldn't be for existing diverse suppliers on our contracts, because we do try to make sure our diverse suppliers have payment terms that, reflect more favorably for them. But with any suppliers moving forward in the future, I believe that we are sticking to a 45-day payment term. But me and Ron are working to kind of try to make sure that we have a set, distinct payment term for our diverse suppliers that are either being onboarded or future diverse suppliers.
There is an anonymous question, excuse me. It says, can you share specific projects that are in AmeriHealth's pipeline? Also, has the organization seen any direct fallout from current admin cuts?
So I'll answer the second one first. I think I think a lot of organizations are seeing a lot of fallout from what's been happening in Washington. I will say that for our organization, we've been kind of preparing for this for a while. I think it started with kind of like, um, there was like, employee cell phones and things of that nature, things that we could cut costs on. And then eventually, obviously, there is kind of a deeper, harder measure of, layoffs and things of that nature. But in terms of the overall structure of the care that we provide to our members, and the progress we've been trying to make within the communities that we serve, we are still very committed to those goals. And nothing that the administration does is going to stop us from still delivering the care to our members.
Thank you. What is the name of the cohort slash program you spoke about? And how do we as SMEs become a vendor to supply our services for future ones?
Awesome. That would be our Supplier Development Institute. Let me just drop it in our chat.
Perfect. Jonathan just dropped the title of that program into the chat. Um,
I did see a question from Mia Mendoza about is the module Jonathan referred to an online? It is not an online webinar. It is a program that we're rolling out to start at the end of April. We rolled out a pilot last year that was kind of more private, just to see how things would go. This second iteration will be publicized once it's rolling. But it is not an online webinar. For construction and renovation projects, Ray Caceres, I will say that until we get a new contract in a new state, I don't think that there's going to be a large need for construction or renovation suppliers. Just because typically when we get a new location of business, we're going to be building up wellness, things of that nature. But we typically day to day, unless if there's something that needs obvious renovations, but it's not something that we typically source for on a frequent basis. Non-emergency medical transport was listed. Yes, we do utilize that supplier. And I would love to talk to you, Candace, about that if you want to just shoot me a personal email.
think you're monitoring the chat. I'm monitoring Q&A.
Yeah, right.
Um, so I do have someone here. How can we connect with behavioral health, wellness, and clinical procurement?
Yes. So that would be handled by, I believe, Ashley Steffen, who we do have a pretty good relationship with at Supplier Diversity representatives within the company. So that's a relationship that I could try to facilitate for you.
Okay. Lee has asked, he said, one, thank you for your time. They're certified in 16 states. So what would be the best way to provide this information to best align ourselves for potential partnership on upcoming state RFP and bids?
Lee, if you could send me over your capability statement, we could have a conversation after this. But I think the best case scenario is kind of facilitating a relationship between you and the correct sourcing members. I mean, also just getting some insights about what's coming down that you could potentially be added to, but that's kind of the processes that we do for every supplier that we encounter. But um, I would say just message me on my personal email, and we can kind of chat about that later.
Oh, someone someone said I didn't hear how we can become one of the SMEs for Institute.
So for this, so to become a subject matter expert for the Institute, that would be great. And I would obviously say that we should talk about that off of the call, just because there's going to be a lot of information that I can provide you if you did want to help out with another iteration of the program.
Perfect. So that was answered. Once our capability statements are provided, how will we know if we are included in the internal I'm going to assume directory? That was the question.
Yep. So once capability statements are provided, so I would say that, so I'm currently building out this document right now. So every single capability statement I'm getting, I'm adding to it. Just because I want to have make sure that I have as much content within the document as possible. And then what I'm going to start to do is start partitioning specific states and breaking it down by state. Because I've already broken it down by all the verticals that we have. So your capability statement would be added almost immediately. But yeah, I think it's still in the process. It's still kind of deep in the process of being built out in terms of content.
Okay. And then I have Sherry who asks, how can we find upcoming bids on janitorial contracts?
So again, we do not publicize any of our contracts or upcoming RFPs in a public setting. So you can message me offline and we can try to figure that out.
Mhm. What's the process to all of this once we set up meetings and speak to the decision makers to provide services? I have a lot of services through my company I can provide. I just want a real follow-up. Most of the companies don't follow up.
Yeah, Cassandra, I will say I did see your email come through just now. So I will follow up with you just to kind of make sure that you kind of understand exactly how the process goes once you've been introduced. A lot of it sometimes hinges on the supplier to be more persistent and proactive with our sourcing team and with other representatives at whichever company you're trying to gain access to. Um, but yeah, let's chat about that offline. I did see your email. I will be getting back to you, Cassandra. Current percentage of your spend with diverse suppliers. So currently we're at about I would say 29% in terms of our current spend. That's attributed to just kind of like how we've set our programs up, our commitment to diversity prior to me even being here and for years. So that's how we got to that number. Granted, that number is amazing, but we want to make sure that even within that percentage, we're trying to spread it to make sure that everyone gets a chunk of the pie. So the work still has to be done.
Mhm. Our anonymous attendee, I think you get message Jonathan directly. Um, I feel like that's a niche question that Jonathan may not be able to provide.
So I don't know that we have a cost savings supplier currently at the moment implemented into our processes. Um, so no to that question, we do not.
Are you looking for companies with certification? So most
Yes.
companies on this call should be certified either with EMSDC or one of our counterparts, which would be WeBank or any of our affiliates within the NMSDC territory. So yes, they're always looking for certified businesses.
How long are contract lifespans? Okay, so for our janitorial contracts, I I actually would have to check on that. I don't want to give you because a lot of the contracting statements of work are very different, so I can't just give you a general answer for that. So we would have to probably connect offline so I can get an answer for you.
Right. Jonathan. software development services and QA services. How can we talk? I believe Jonathan has shared his email in the chat. If not, we'll do so again. Seeing I see you on here, and we'll get that over to you if you don't have it.
Yeah, and there was an Anthony Henderson in the chat. Do you want the capability statements or should we place in the portal? You can send them directly to my email. If that works for you, you can send it directly to my email. And then from there, if there's any follow-up conversations that need to happen, we can have those.
Yeah. Bruce, I believe he's at or other certifications such as
Yeah,
Service Disabled Veterans, NGLCC, or disability.
for that service disabled veteran, I believe we take VBE, so the DSOVB, I believe, is the name of the certification. But for the NGLCC, we definitely do take that and count that towards our diverse men.
All right, folks, I'm gonna drop Jonathan's email one more time so that it's at the top of the chat, or the bottom, I should say, for everyone to see. And just a forewarning, emails can be overwhelming after this, so please bear with Jonathan as he gets through them. Perhaps maybe offer, hey, let's go and meet for coffee, or something of that nature, because it can get a little bit overwhelming. There are 52 currently in the chat, so just imagine 52 suppliers one time coming at you. So be patient. However, if there is any follow-up that EMSDC can do, we would help as well. I believe there is another question in the Q&A.
Oh
Let me.
yeah, yeah, I can definitely. So for the Tuck and mentorship programs, I think for the Tuck School of Business, we would have to have you onboarded a supplier already, a current existing supplier, that is looking to scale. And for the mentorship programs, you would also have to be onboarded as well as an existing supplier. But Naz, I would love to chat with you about that. Give you more information on the programs, past participants, and just answer whatever other questions you have.
There's a question in the chat about transportation providers and how do suppliers in that industry become connected with AmeriHealth.
Yeah, Miss Trey Don. So yeah, I would say just let's have a conversation offline. It follows a very similar process to what I've kind of explained in terms of introductions, and sending us over the necessary information, use cases for your business so that we can kind of best decide. So I would send over all that information, and if you still want to have a phone call and just kind of understand it even deeper, I would love to do that.
That was answered. All right, folks. Okay, I believe I'm not sure if you see that
Be
Q&A,
one more question. Yep.
but it's just email.
Let me copy that in now. Thank you, Trina.
Let me know if you grabbed it.
Mhm.
All right, perfect. All right, folks. Any more questions or Mia, I do see your hand raised. I'm not sure if we answered a question of yours. Okay, I think we put it down.
Yep. Okay.
Right.
Well, before we hop off, I just want to say thank you so much to all the participants. I know you took time out of your day to make this webinar, and it can't be easy just because all of you are diversifiers and business owners yourselves. So just want to extend my gratitude and thanks for you all sitting through this webinar and being here with me. I had a great time answering all your questions, and I'd love to follow up with all of you via email and kind of answer and give more clarity to anything you need.
And just a reminder, folks, again, there are a lot of us on this call. If you email Jonathan, please be patient as he's probably navigating through that, as well as what's going on in his everyday AmeriHealth Caritas duties. Um, and just be mindful of, approach. And tone, I would say. I always want to remind folks that, Jonathan may be the start to an introduction to someone else who is, in your space and holds or has access to RFPs and bids and opportunities. So please just be mindful, it may take a couple interactions with AmeriHealth or any other corporation in particular, and a little bit of patience will go a long way. I will tell you what our corporations come back and say is they remember how they're treated more than anything. So please just be mindful of that. And we do appreciate you joining us on this Wednesday. If you have some time as well, we actually have a webinar at 3 p.m. with Bank of America on sustainability. Sustainability is going to be, it is a huge topic, but it's going to be I think, even larger topic of conversation moving into kind of this transitional phase of of business and how we're navigating. So if you're able to, please join us as well. Again, everybody should have Jonathan's email in the chat. If there's any way we can support you, please let us know. I believe some of you have our emails as well, but if you don't, I'll drop mine in the chat. But if that is all, folks, we are going to let you out a little bit early. um, and please just let us know if we could help you in any way. We appreciate your time.